OST 2016. This is interviews, music reviews, and more. This is The Hotter Show.
What is up, everybody? We are rolling audio here today on episode 356 of The Hotter Show. I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you so very much for tuning in and clicking that play button on a return to form here on The Hotter Show. We're back at it after a month of Halloween-related content. Thank you guys so much for all the support during October. I have way too much fun doing horror-related content, and that was just a blast. A lot of really good feedback from last week's episode as well. And also, this is technically the first normal episode I've done since I have been married. So thank you to all the people for all the well wishes and everything. I'm very happy to be married, very excited for the future, and I'm very excited for this episode. We're back at a return to form here with my man Solo, who is the vocalist for Houston, Texas-based Nu-Metalcore band Reckless High. I will say we did have some audio issues with this episode, unfortunately on both ends. It happens. Still a fantastic episode, but just want to give you guys a little heads up. My audio sounds a little weird, and Solo's audio had some weirdness happening too, but we made it work, and it's still a great conversation. We talk all about Solo's start in music, kind of some of the first music he got into, his influences, the early days of his career, kind of the beauty and the darkness of the music industry and things of that nature, as well as talking about him forming Reckless High, the early days of the band, how that all came to be, working with some not so great people, and kind of the journey of building a band and where he's at now. It's a really great inspirational talk. I think you guys are really going to dig it. Reckless High are a freaking badass band, and they definitely deserve your support. So before we get into that, I got to take a quick second again to thank all of you for support on last week's episode of the show, in which myself and my dear friends over at Baseline Feed did a Halloween special, A Cold Wind Blows on Halloween Night, which of course was an horror audio drama production, and that was a lot of work. Tanner over at Baseline Feed put in so much work. Just thank you to everybody who checked it out. Thank you to all the voice actors again. Thank you to Tanner and CM for all of your guys' work on it. It turned out so well. If you haven't checked out the Halloween content and you're into horror, go check it out, because A Cold Wind Blows on Halloween Night was a story that I wrote last year for the Dread Files. Never thought it would come back up, but it was a fun idea I had. It was kind of last minute. Tanner fucking killed it. So just again, shouts to Baseline Feed and everybody for all of your support. We're going to roll into my interview and chat with Solo from Reckless High. Before we do, we're going to take a quick second to hear a word from the sponsors who are helping the Hotter Show grow. Let's check it out. We got Solo from Houston, Texas-based Nu-Metalcore band Reckless High on the podcast. Solo, what's up, man? How you doing?
What's up, bro?
It's good to link up with you, man. It's I absolutely dig your guys' sound and the new record, so I'm excited to get to jump into all this with you, man. I appreciate you taking the time.
For sure, bro. I'm stoked, man. I'm excited to be on the show and finally get this message out.
Definitely. So, well, starting with the message, man, where did it all start for you with music? Like, what was some of the first music that you ever heard? Where did it all start?
Man, it started at a young age. My dad had his own band. He had like a Tejano band. It's like Latin music, Spanish music. And he played drums and accordion in that band. And that's when I first got exposed to it. And I just remember they used to play on the parades in this little town that we lived in Colorado. And I remember seeing my dad one day on a float playing drums, bro. I never forget. And that really kind of sparked it for me. Just like any kid, I wanted to be like my father. So I would see my dad jamming in his little storage garage thing he had, and with his friends, of course, drinking and stuff. And But I think that's where it really started for me, man. Just had always had the music in my family, and my mom even attempted to play drums in the band, and and yeah, that was funny. But just always been surrounded by music, always.
So was it in the early days? Was it really just that kind of music, or like did they listen to different types of music as well?
For my dad, it was mainly Spanish, and his favorite artist was Freddie Fender. I don't know if you're familiar with Freddie Fender, but
I've heard the name, but I'm not
old
super
school,
familiar. But
yeah,
okay,
old school musician. He was like one of the first Latin artists that crossed over into country.
okay, I recognize him now. I recognize
Yeah,
that mustache for sure. I have
yeah.
seen
He
I've
has a
seen the
song
name.
called Wasted Days and Wasted Nights."
Okay, yes. All
That's like
right.
his
It's
biggest
all coming
song.
back to me. I've definitely heard that song before.
Yeah, so for that was like on my dad's side, and then my mom, it was 80s. I mean, disco, pop, Spanish, country. It was just my mom was she just loved it all. So the diversity part really came from my mom because she always exposed us to different kinds of music growing up, and every time we heard that music playing on Sunday morning in the house, we knew what time it was. Get up and clean the dang house.
Soundtrack for cleaning.
Yup, yup. Every time we heard that Mexican music in the morning, like it'd be 7 a.m., bro, I'd get up and I would hear it. Now me and my brother would look at each other like, oh my God. Sure enough, mop buckets ready, broom ready, the short list on the board, like who got to what room, you know what I mean? I'm like, man. So yeah, man, just always surrounded by music. It was great.
That's awesome. So when did you start kind of getting into like obviously listening to music that your parents listened to and stuff like that? And that's awesome to hear that you had such a diverse kind of introduction to music. But what was some of the first music like that you personally started to get into on your own and seek out?
So in the beginning, it was hip hop. It was rap. My brothers had a rap group back in the day, and they started rapping and freestyling. So I got into, of course, wanting to be like my big brothers. Got into the hip hop, and my first artist that I listened to was probably Eminem. Um, that first LP that he dropped. I remember my cousin banging it, and I was like, man, that's pretty fire. And I was like in seventh grade when that record came out, man. And then it was, oh wait, let me reverse that. It was actually Nelly, Country Grammar.
Good
The
record.
that was Nelly's Country Grammar. Okay, yeah. That was the first CD that I received for Christmas. And when I opened it up, I was like I was shocked that I got that for Christmas from a friend of my mom's. I was like, oh man, she came through clutch. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I thought it was the best gift because like nobody ever. I never owned a CD, so it was the Nelly Country Grammar. I loved it. Then it was the Chronic, Dr. Dre, 2001. Loved it.
Hell yeah.
And then it was the Eminem LP, and that's what really got me going into music. So, and then of course 50 Cent, and as I started to keep on listening to music, but yeah, man, that's where it really started. Bone Thugs and Harmony, Tupac, Biggie. My brothers were listening to that, to the Pac and Biggie and Bone Thugs, and I was digging it. I loved it, but I was, they were already older than me, so I was by the time I got into music, I mean, it was Eminem and Nelly, that generation, of rap coming up. So yeah, man, that's where it really started for me.
It's interesting because we're very, very close in age. So I can absolutely understand where it's like Bone Thugs and Harmony and Pac and all that stuff. That was like we like just missed that. Like we
Yeah,
would have heard it when we were really young, like
yeah,
you're saying, but like we just kind of missed that,
yeah, yeah. Because my brothers, they had the Cypress Hill posters, the Bone
Yeah.
posters, the Biggie posters, and like I was just a little knucklehead, just trying to, be hanging around with them. So by the time I was able to get posters, I had the 50 Cent poster, I had the Eminem poster, the Dre poster, just 50 Cent poster. Those were my favorite artists at the time. So that's just where it started for me, man.
When did you start? When was that first moment for you when you realized, like, hey, I really want to do this? Like, you mentioned the whole, like, watching your father on the float, but like, was there a moment when you tried to, like, say, sit down behind a drum set and you were like, oh man, this is awesome?
Yeah.
Where did it start for you with that?
Yeah, I was probably about 12 years old, and my mom had bought a drum set, and she was practicing and stuff, and I wasn't like allowed to touch it because it was an expensive kit. And I remember every time, they would leave the house, I would get behind it.
Immediately touched it, of course.
Immediately touched it, bro.
I love it.
Immediately touched it, bro. Started banging on it. And man, I would always try to learn, but I could never really get it. I could never really, because I was trying to self-teach myself how to play instruments. And then my mom's husband at the time, he was a musician and he had guitars everywhere. So started trying to pick up a guitar and learn some licks and stuff like that. So, it was about 12 years old, man, when I just decided I wanted to try to create, and slowly just started to progress. But yes, I started off as hip hop, but I always had that love for the rock and classic rock and like the disco my mom was listening to. But I low key hated it all the time, because uh, nobody around me was listening to that kind of music.
Yeah, especially like disco and stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some great stuff from that era, man.
Bro,
Like the
vibes.
80s, there's some great stuff there for sure.
Bro,
but you couldn't.
VGs.
Dude, yeah.
Vibe.
That's it, man.
Vibe. If you can't, if you don't, man, that's why I was like, I'm just glad I grew up with diversity, because I don't hate on that music, man. Like, shoot, it vibes, and a lot of new artists these days are sampling those records. So
yeah, it's like, it, and you're just like, oh yeah, I know that hook. Like, I find even now, more recently, like this year and stuff, I've heard, even like I've listened to the radio. Like, my wife's really into kind of like the top 40 stuff a lot more than me. So I'll be listening to a song and I'll be like, I've heard that hook before.
Yeah, you hear it, man. You hear it in every mainstream pop big hit now. Rap songs these days. Man, I heard one that just kind of ticked me off. It was I think it was that Rihanna, DJ Khaled. They did the Santana.
Oh yes,
the Maria Maria song. They sampled that guitar, and they retracked it. But like, you should have just got Carlos to do it. Like,
you can't retract Santana.
I was like, why? It sounded garbage, dude. It had a vibe. Yeah, I understand, because the newer generation, they don't know that song and they're gonna vibe it. Okay, but when I listened to it, I was like, yo, that was a classic, yo. Like, how you gonna do that, man? Like, but it's all about the industry, so I get it. I really do. And I think that's where a lot of musicians fail, because they don't want to be diverse, man.
Yeah, it's really sad to see. I'm all for artists trying new things and stuff like that. Like, a lot of my favorite bands, lately especially, like, they've really been trying a lot of different stuff, and it's like I'm a big fan of the hard rock, new metal stuff. So like, when I see bands, like, say, like a band like Godsmack, their last record and then now the new stuff is very much not old school Godsmack. They've always kind of slowly have changed. And like, I'm all for it, because I want people to be happy with the music they're playing. You know what I mean? But like, at the same time, if you're going to say, pull something from somewhere like Rihanna and DJ Khaled, you don't retrack a Santana track. You just don't do that. That should be like, as a written rule in every studio. Like, just don't retract Santana. I don't know.
Sure.
It's
man. And I get it, man. That it's those records are classics, and they have major vibes to them. And at the end of the day, now that I'm evolving as a musician, like I see myself doing a lot of that now, like just listening to the top 100 and seeing what's out there. I'm not I'm not this metal dude, you know. I'm not
Oh,
this
for
just
sure. Yeah.
I'm not just this metal till that
I only
guy's
listen to metal.
Slayer, you know.
Slayer, bro. Yo, this
Yeah,
has
but
clean
nah.
vocals in it. It sucks.
No. I'm the totally the opposite, dude. Like, yeah, I just love all kinds of music, and with the new stuff coming out, yeah, people are gonna hear that.
That's awesome, man. Well, and it's funny because you know what? What I've learned over the last few years is a lot of those guys that front those metal bands that are super, super ridiculously heavy, they listen to Britney Spears. So, you know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
they're
interesting.
soft. They're
Yeah, it's
soft. They're
interesting.
and it's all a show, and I get it. Like I really do. I get it. I mean, it's entertainment, and at the end of the day, I for me personally, I just don't dig it. I don't dig that, you know, you're gonna be like this satanic person on stage, but then you're backstage doing, you know, yoga and you know, reading whatever to get, you know, it's like you think like those guys are back there, you know, sacrificing a a goat or something. I'm like, I just seen it the other day. Like, I'm not even gonna mention the band's name because I don't want to. I ain't gonna be a hater, but they're known for just being like this brutal death metal band, and like the vocalist loves to like go to carnivals and win prizes.
Oh, we all
you
know we all know who you're talking about, but yeah,
you know, and I'm like, and he's like taking pictures with all his prizes, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, that's cool to see that side of you, but for me, I just feel like the gimmick is too like oversold, and people believe in it, bro. People believe in these people. They believe what they say on stage, and some people, bro, they take a lot of stuff seriously. Lyrics
Mhm.
seriously, they take music seriously. While this guy is not even about that, but you influence somebody to be about that. And they're really about that while you're not about that because your music fueled them to be about that. you
I
know?
understand what you're saying. Yeah, for sure. Like it's very much. I used to say the same thing a lot about like a band like say like Lamb of God, where I'd be like I'd listen to some of their early stuff and I'd be like, I just can't understand this, you know. And then at one point I learned and realized, okay, some of this stuff is a metaphor, you
Yeah,
know. But
yeah,
a band like the band you're mentioning, which a lot of people are going to know who you're talking about, but we don't say just for the sake of it. But like when you're in like a death metal deathcore band that just has the most ridiculously heavy lyrics and stuff like that and really
yeah.
dark stuff, it's like I also can get, well, so then like you're backstage like hanging out with puppies and stuff, like what, like just
Yeah,
yeah.
man. Yeah. Well, and it's at the end of the day, it comes down to the music industry. And one thing I've learned is just, you know, there's a lot of wolves, and there's wolves everywhere you go. In any industry, any business you get into, there's just always going to be people like that, and who are just fake, and they're going to do anything they can to get to the top. And if that means putting on a fake facade, you know, they're gonna do it. Now, for me personally, you know, I just would rather be real and authentic, and maybe that's kept me from getting the big success like a lot of these people are nowadays. Maybe it has, but for me, I've connected with people over the years, and that's the most important thing to me. That I have people who depend on me or can feel comfortable with messaging me about their problems because we became friends through Instagram, and I'm not just this big vocalist rock star dude who's too good for people. It's just not me, dude, you know? And that's something that I don't want to fall into ever.
Yeah, you're not someone who, you know, acts like, oh hey, I'm always here for you, you can message me about your problems, we're all in this together and stuff. But then when push comes to shove, it's like, oh
You're
well,
not
I don't
there.
have time for this. It's like,
Yeah.
which
No,
I'm not calling anyone out because there are a lot of people who are, you know, pretty big damn names that if something like that happens, they're good genuine people that can be busy sometimes. But
true,
if you
true.
make that your platform, and then
don't
Yeah, and you get known by the fans to be just a really good person. Then you've created that reputation for yourself compared to some guys that I used to really dig, like vocalists and bands, and I met them one time and I'm like, oh no, dude, like, yeah, this isn't.
Isn't that the worst thing in the world?
This isn't what I expected, and you just and especially when you see them being dicks to like a younger person, and you're like waiting to go get their autograph or something. See, I quit doing that a long time ago. I'm 32 years old, so of course when I was 17, 18 years old, and I would see my favorite musicians, spazzing out, like, excited to see those people. But when you see like I've had experience like that when I saw one of them just be a dick to a younger fan, and I didn't even want to walk up to him anymore. Like yeah, man, I literally got that poster, scrambled it up. We had a festival, and I threw it in the trash. I'm like, yeah, I understand. Like, you're busy, and you're probably hungover as shit, but you signed up for this, you know.
Yeah, especially at a festival. Like, it's one thing if you're out like at like Denny's with your family, and like someone comes up to like, hey, yo, man, can you sign my shit? I get being a dick then, maybe, or if you're at the the bathroom stall and someone's trying to talk to you, hey, man, can you give me a minute? But if you're at a music festival you're performing at, walking around, I mean, like,
you should not be a fucking dick. Period. Like, if you're at a festival and you're doing your thing, like, bro, no, like,
or that's what security's for, by the way. You know,
but
have them be the dick.
Yeah, but that's the industry, bro, and I've learned it throughout the years, but yeah, man, it's just been a journey. It's just been a journey. It started at a young age, so
definitely. Well, let's go back for a minute and talk about that. So, when did you start really diving into the music industry and like getting into actually performing?
So like when I was I want to kind of back up a little bit, because I started getting into hip hop, and then I ended up moving to my mom. We ended up relocating, and where we relocated there was a lot of skaters. We moved into a white neighborhood, and they had the skate park and stuff. Like, I was coming from the hood in Texas to this nice area in Wyoming, and they had everything you can imagine: skate parks, bike parks. And so I found myself going to these places to meet friends. And that's when I met a good buddy of mine. I don't want to name drop on his name yet, but I met a good friend of mine, and I never forget, bro. He hands me a CD. He's like, dude, check this CD out. My dad just bought this CD. Let me check it out. It had a middle finger on the cover. No, I opened it, and there was a middle finger in there, and I'm like, oh, it was Kid Rock, Devil Without a Cause.
Hell yeah, I knew it. The second you started saying that, I was like, I think it's Devil Without a Cause.
It was Kid Rock, bro. Devil Without a Cause. He was like, dude, you know the Walkmans, you could buy the speakers,
of course,
that you could carry around, and you were the shit if you had those speakers, or the Walkman. And if you had the whole set, you were rocking.
Yeah.
And my boy had it, bro, and he was like, man, let's go to the skate park. Let's go bump this thing. So I remember being like on the half pipe up top where we would all gather and we drop in and stuff. My boy put that on, bro, and we jammed it like through from just start to finish and repeatedly. And everybody, I remember, bro, the day where it was new to everybody. And we were gathering, like we were gathering, bro. That's what I miss about back in the day, because you had to buy the record to listen to it. So I remember like maybe like 10, 15 of our friends, we started just jamming it, stopped skating, and we're just like listening to the lyrics, looking at the cover and stuff. And everybody wanted to take it home to dub it to a tape. But since that was my best friend, he was like, no, I'm going to let Alex take it. By the way, my real name is Alex. He's like, I'm going to let him take it first because, he's my best friend. So I took it home that day, dubbed it, put it on the CD player, recorded it to the tape, old school once again. And that's where it started, man. That's where it started. where I was like, yo, I want to make that. I want to do that. I don't know what this, I didn't know what it consisted of. I didn't know if it was a band. I mean, I could hear the guitars and stuff in there. I didn't know what it was. Until MTV released, was it Cowboy? I think that was the first one that came out.
The first single was Cowboy, yeah. But then, actually, it might have been, I can never remember the name of the pronunciation for the first track of Bow with a Bow, whatever the hell it is.
Bow with the Bow.
Bow with the bag. I could do that whole song right now, bet.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah, that always confused everybody. Like back in the day, trying to sing it, like you're singing it wrong. Nah, bro, it's this way. Nah, bro.
What does that one mean?
Yeah,
bong with a thong orangutan or something like that.
So that's where it started, bro. And so from there, I remember I had Nelly's Country Grammar, and I had a tape of Kid Rock, and I had The Chronic. That was my first 3 physical material that I had. And I remember I was 12 years old, Christmas. My mom bought me a jukebox. Is that what they call it? Yeah, jukebox. And it had a CD player in it. And from there where it started, because I never forget, I got it was the Snoop Dogg single, but it had the instrumental on it. So back in the day, they would release the single and then the instrumental. So I can't remember the song of Snoop, but the instrumental came on that record. So I dubbed it to a tape, the instrumental, and I started to just rap and, just trying through the microphone on the jukebox. And I ended up coming up with the shitty recording, but I was able to play it back. And I was able to hear myself. And I was like, yes. Like right there is when I was captivated. And I started to write lyrics, started just writing rhymes. And man, it just started to evolve. And it wasn't until I was probably 16 that I actually got into a real studio. And I got shitted on by all my friends and my family who was in the studio, because we all hung out, and one of my cousins had a studio, and I just wanted to record. I just wanted to make music, and nobody believed in me, man. Nobody wanted to give me a chance, and I would try to freestyle and rap. And check this out. I knew I was better than half of those guys who were making those records. But I was young. I was 16 and they're like in their 20s. So, of course, I was just getting shitted on like, oh, you're not good enough. You never can, do this. And I was from Texas. And at the time I was living in Colorado. So the styles are so different. They were like, oh, you're a different kind of style. Like, we don't mess with that Southern rap type stuff. Like, and that's what I was. I was like, that's my vibe, But I knew I knew I was better. So 16 come around and they're like, we'll give you a chance to get on a song. So I was like, I was so excited, bro, to finally just be in the same studio with my homies, quotes, that's in quote. And I remember I got in there and I froze. B-Rabbit.
Man.
Froze, bro. And I could hear everybody laughing. And they're like, oh, try it again. And I could hear the laughs. And I froze again because I was mad. I was angry that they were laughing at me. And that did it for me. I turned 17 and I had just graduated high school. I graduated early, younger than everybody. And I just had it, I had it with people and people just knocking me, and I went on my own. I left home early, living in the streets, living in my car, just trying to make something happen. I felt like I could make music. I felt like I could do it. So through a struggle, I ended up starting college at a community college, and Ended up getting my first apartment at the age of 17. Struggle. I don't know how I did it, but I was home. I was living in my car, and my counselor at the time was like, "Man, I want to help you out," and he got me an apartment. And I never forget when I walked in that apartment. First thing that came to my head, I could build a studio. I can make this room right here.
Yeah, it was not like, oh, I've got somewhere to live. It's no, man, this is my studio.
For real. That's how you know you're a musician, and you know how you just love music, because it was like, and I lived in a 1-bedroom kitchenette, bro. It looked like a jail cell, and it was outside of campus, and I remember, Sweetwater, the company Sweetwater, the musician friend, they would always send catalogs in the mail. That's the only way you could see their product. I mean, the internet, there was internet, but you got the catalogs in the mail. And I remember my neighbor got a catalog and they put it in my mailbox. So I took it out and I'm like, man, of course, I'm not giving this to him. I want to go see what's, I freaking tucked it under my armpit and went to my apartment, opened it up. And I never forget, it was a starter kit. It had the 8-track Boss multi-track recorder with the Tascam monitors and a AKG 100 perception microphone, all for $900. And that day, I had just got my student loan.
So of course, what you did was be responsible and not spend any money on that, right?
Of course. I did the responsible thing. Needless to say, a week later, I had the starter kit.
So you waited at least a few hours to spend it, right?
I did. That was so funny because I told myself, when I get this loan, first thing I'm going to do is go pay my rent in 3 months in advance. I'm 17 years old with a chunk of freaking money. A chunk of money.
See, that's good you even did that. I don't know if I would have done that at 17.
I didn't do it. I didn't.
Oh, no!
I told myself, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pay my rent. And when I got that day, because I went to the mailbox to get my check, because they said your check should be there on this day, from Sally Mae or whatever. But I'm paid up that loan, so screw you, Sally Mae. Anyways, so my check was in the mail, and that's when I found it. It was meant to be, bro. It was meant to be, because my check was in the mail, and that's the day the Sweetwater magazine was in the mail with the fucking check.
Oh shit!
I shit you not. So I ended up ordering that kit and it came in, and I remember some of my homies just being mad at me that I was going to start my own thing. Like, oh, you shouldn't be starting your own thing, and you should be going to so and so studio if you want to be recording and paying them or whatever. And I'm like, screw that, bro. I heard everybody laughing at me. I heard those laughs, and that's something that sticks with me till this day. I'm 32 years old. That happened to me when I was 16 years old, and I'll never forget it. Because you know why? Most of those people who laughed, they ain't doing nothing.
Exactly. And you never ever forget that, man. Like that.
Never.
It's not a jaded thing. It's just like it's a fuel, right?
It's a fuel.
When you have a situation like that. I've been there too, man. Like it's like, oh, you don't think I can do this? You think this is a joke? All right. Well, let me prove you wrong.
Yeah, bro. And that's what really fueled me to do it. And I ended up buying that setup, and I started having parties at my apartment, and I was just inviting my friends, the homies over, and I put the mic up and I was getting beats. I was starting to learn now because I had a laptop and stuff by this point. And I started downloading instrumentals and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I could do this now. And I was loading them up to the Tascam, and I got to a point where I'm like, I can get the homies in the room, get this instrumental playing, and anybody can step to the mic and just freestyle, and I can give that to them, like on a CD. And they were loving it. They were coming to the parties and like, yo, Solo, man, let me hop on that. I got this freestyle in my head, and I let them go. Like, you know what? Go ahead, boom, freestyle. Turn on the mic, boom. They'd leave my spot with their recording. Now, it wasn't the best recording. It wasn't, but it pumped you up. So it was like, you could go put it in your ride and listen to this playback. So for me, it was like, all right, I can do this. And once I started seeing people, like my homies starting to see me like do it, I just used them as practice, and once I knew I could do it, bro, I just cut all ties with everybody. I went on my own, and solo was born. I took my equipment and I moved back to Texas because I was living in Colorado at the time. I moved back to Houston, and that's where my journey began. I was 18 years old, and I recorded my first record with a good buddy of mine. His name's AJ. It was like a love rap song, R&B kind of song, and I went in, like I just went all in for it and started catching a buzz slowly but surely. But man, it started when I was 16, really, bro. Like I just, that's what sparked the fuel, the fires when I hopped in that booth and I heard those laughs, man. But I knew I had the talent. I knew I possessed it, and I knew it was in me, and I just went for it.
That's awesome that you have that, man. Because like, as much as it sucks that you had to go through that, excuse me, it's like you just really never ever forget something like that. Whenever you have self-doubt or anything, it's like, dude, like I gotta at least try. No matter what happens for the rest of your life, at this point, even, you can say, I did what I set out to do. I got a record. I did my own shit. I'm good at it. Like, no matter what, you've got that. Yep. And that then proves those people wrong, right? So that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, man. It just had to take that experience and just grow on it. And I still grow on it. I don't dwell on it, but like you said, it's just motivation for me to see where I've come from, and not only that, to motivate others. That's my biggest goal, is to motivate other musicians who are trying to get going. Whether you're 18 or a late bloomer at 40, 50, and you never gave it a shot, man. Like, yo, it's so easy these days. It's so easy to have. I mean, it's all Pro Tools. You can can pay a monthly for it now. It's like $30, a month. Back in the late 90s, early 2000, Pro Tools. I mean, you had to be a professional producer to possess Pro Tools. It just wasn't a thing, Like, and I tell people now, it's so easy for you to do it. You can buy $100 microphone, $100 interface, and download some instrumentals, and you're rocking. And there's free recording softwares, and you're rocking with $300-$400, into it. And I mean, if you can't spend that much to get started, then you really don't want it.
That's it. Like I have, even in the podcast world, I have this conversation with people too, where it's like, oh, well, why can't I just use my laptop mic or whatever? And I'm like, I mean, you can.
Yeah, you can.
Obviously, it's different in the podcast world, but I'm like, you know what? If you don't even want to spend $100 and $50 for podcasting for interface and megaphone, I'm like, do you really, really want it that badly? And for music, it's like, you gotta be, because once you spend that couple $100, you can get started with that. You know what I mean? You shouldn't need to spend more than that after.
Yeah, totally. You gotta make the investments.
Mm-hmm. It's important for sure to have that investment in yourself. is extremely important for sure.
It is.
Definitely. Sure. So when you move back to Texas, you start doing your own thing. When, like, kind of what happened from there? Like, you mentioned you released your record, and then going from there, you did the solo thing for a number of years, and then did you have any other bands in that time period too, or anything? Or
no, man, I was performing solo. I had 2 mixtapes. They each had like 15 songs. My first mixtape did really well. It was called Smoking and Riding, and the producer that I linked up with after I did my first like demo, I linked up with a producer that goes by FM. That's my dog right there. He's one of the best rap hip hop producers in Houston, and now around, I would say around the world now, because he works with a lot of people now, big and small. But anyways, I linked up with him and we started just doing mixtapes, and I had a good run. Man. I was 18 years old, doing shows in the clubs, and by myself with a DJ. I would go up to the stage, hand the DJ my CD, he'd hand me a mic, and I would just do my thing. And I remember just people would look at me weird because I was the only guy going on stage by myself, and you would have these other rap acts go up there and they had 20, 30 people on stage, and 2 mics, and I'm like, nah, that just wasn't me. I never really had a posse like that. So I just started gaining confidence knowing that I could walk in a room and steal the crowd by myself. And I just started doing that. Mixtapes were doing really good. I was getting airplay. And going back to the club scene, I got real tired of the bad energy and the bad vibes. Because there was a lot of gangs, a lot of drug dealing going on in the clubs, fights, and it was just a local hip hop scene, rap scene in general is like that, and there was no love. And no matter if you got love, you got hated on because the other posses didn't want to see you. Especially if you were just a one man going up there by yourself and just wrecking every act that was on the bill on that show. Hip hop world, they don't want to see people do good. That's why you see a lot of these rappers getting shot and killed. They got so many enemies because, man, that's just the game. That's just how that industry works. You don't want to see nobody do good, and you're going to try to shit on their fame or whatever because you're not getting it. And that's just sad. So I got burned the F out. I was tired of it. It was 2014. I remember I was in Austin, Texas for a big festival called Texas Relays. I had got booked for my second year there, and great show, great crowd. I always had it popping. And I just remember the DJ tried to sabotage me. He tried to speed up my record. And he thought I couldn't keep up with it, and I just rapped it extra fast. And one of the other artists luckily had my back, and he checked the DJ, and the DJ finally put it back to normal tempo. But I caught the vibe that they just didn't want to see me up there. They didn't want to see the people with their hands up, and because the first 2 acts just couldn't get it done, and the DJ was with those first 2 acts. And here's this one guy walking on stage and just wrecking the crowd and getting them hyped up. Even when the music was sped up, the crowd didn't know. They were just vibing, and they thought the records were supposed to be like that. And finally, I have the video. I actually have this on recording. I'm turning around. I was done. Third songs in, 3 songs in like that. I turned around like the DJ. I was like, bro, I'm about to... Yo, you're messing up my records. It's about to get popping in here for real. And luckily another artist saw what was going down, and I guess he was friends with that DJ. But right there it drew the line for me. I'm like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to be out here no more. There's just no love here. But see, I was going to rock shows and metal shows through that whole journey. And what do you always see at rock and metal shows, bro? It's all love.
It's all love, man. Especially love. In the metal scene. Love.
So you have those 1 or 2, shit sticks who act out, and
of course there was always
yeah. But for the most part, it's there. The energy's there. The love is there, and it's a good feeling for an artist to be receiving that. And so I was going to POD shows and all this, and because those are obviously my influence, POD. But I was just seeing like how the fans interacted with those guys and interacted with the bands, and I'm like, man, this is where it's at. This is where it's at, and I want this. I want this. I want to be able to be part of this community. I want to be able to be here with these people and just vibe out and just feel the love. And that's what I did. I got back home from that show, and I had a full album ready to go. Full album. I spent so much money on this record. It never saw the light of day because I was done. I was done. And I remember going to Uproar Fest. It was a big festival they used to have back in the day in the 2000s, early 2000s. I remember I went, and I forgot who was on. I think it was Papa Roach. They were on the side stage, and I just remember feeling that energy for the first time of that, that mosh pit. Man, it was there. Like when they did what was that song called? The big song? My mind went blank.
Last Resort,
yeah. When they did that, bro, like it was next level, and I fiended for it. And I remember after that show in Austin, I just remembered all that I felt, and I'm like, I'm done. And I went to my producer, FM, and I said, dude, I want to make a rock record. And he was like, man, let's do it. So I'm like, can you? Do you know how to do that? He's like, no, but we could try. So I was like, cool. So we got all these guitar noises and stuff, and just copied and pasted. Doing the MIDI guitars, and we didn't have any real instruments, nothing. It was just me and him. And we ended up creating the first Reckless High song. It was called Above Water, and it's actually still on our YouTube channel. Maybe. I don't know. I have to double check that. But it's somewhere. I think it's still on SoundCloud, but it was our first song that we came out with. And that song, I took that song and I started auditioning people with it. So but yeah, man, I just made that transition. I had to get out of it. I still love hip hop, I do, but as far as like the industry and the world goes, yeah, I'm not into it no more.
I can absolutely understand that. For the record, folks, that song is not on the YouTube, but I am. I can't even look on the SoundCloud. But anyway, hang on, maybe I can. I'm just curious, but yeah, I can understand that, man. Like when you're in that world, it is, and it's sad to see because like there's so much talent in that world, man, and there's so much. There could be. It wouldn't take much for everyone to just. And there are spots in the world where there's a lot of love in the hip hop scene. Like in Canada here, there are some spots where there's at least everyone supports each other. Like in the East Coast of Canada, there's a lot of love there. But Toronto, stuff like that, like there's a lot of, not as extreme as what you're talking about, but there's definitely a lot of shit talking and stuff, and you hate to see stuff like that, right? Like we all got into music because we love it. Shouldn't that bring us together? Like, isn't that the point of it?
And it's so so like, keep in mind, I was in Houston, Texas doing this, and Houston's it's not a playground, it's a concrete jungle. So, it was one of those things for me where I was like I said, I was fiending for this metal community. And when I finally first got it, when I first did my first show at a rock metal club, I was sold. I just wanted to do this for the rest of my life. And I just wanted to be around people like this for the rest of my life. And I just wanted to be a part of the community for the rest of my life. And this is what I wanted to do. And I ditched rap and started Reckless High, man.
That's fucking awesome. So you mentioned that there was an audition process. What was that like? Because you were in the rap and hip hop game for so long, but then you do have that background of guitars and that kind of music. How was that audition process? Like, did you find your guys kind of right away, or was it a lengthy process?
So the first guys that I linked up with, I found them pretty right away, or pretty quickly off of Craigslist, and bro, it wasn't really a hard of a transition for me because I'm hungry, I'm a hard worker, I'm a musician, I'm a go getter, so I knew what I wanted to do, and I set out just like I set out to do the rap industry. I set out to take on this rock industry, music, whatever, this world, to just take it head on. And when I had no idea how to start a band. I didn't know. I just put that song out there and I said, look, this is what I'm doing. This is what I created. If you like this song, you can come audition. And through this whole journey, I've never had anybody turn me down, like any musician. Like they would hear the records and they'd be like, oh, dude, like, yeah, dude, that's sick. Like, but the first guys, the first group of guys that I got to where we went and did shows and we were actually like practiced to do our first show, man, I found those guys off the jump. Like they auditioned one time and we clicked, and we just started going. We just started doing shows in Houston, started going to all these dive bars. And of course, throughout the journey, certain guys would fall out, guys would leave, but we just, you do the audition process again. But it was fun. I had a lot of fun doing it, man. Just getting, working with different people, different egos. It was all new to me. But one thing about me, I always had that, I guess, boss mentality. I'm not I don't, I'm a leader. So it's like a lot of people recognize that from me, and it just gave them, I think it was more easier for a lot of people to get on board with what I was doing because they saw somebody who was taking it serious, And once we got out there, once these guys knew that I was serious and we started putting in the work and we got out into the Houston scene, it was the best thing that I ever experienced in my life because I was finally part of the rock community and taking the industry, taking it on.
That's awesome, brother. And you can hear in your voice too how much it means to you to be able to do this and to get into that scene. And I think it can be very underrated sometimes to have someone like yourself in a band who just, there always has to be somebody who's kind of the boss. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you kind of always need that.
Yes,
it doesn't have to be my way or the highway. No one has any input, but it's like someone to just say, okay, hey guys, let's go to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's awesome.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, bro, that was me. I was it was my way or the highway. And I was 22. I think I was 22 when I started the band. I'm 32 now. So there's been a lot of growth and maturity development there. And, but when I first started, man, it was my way or the highway because I was hungry. And a lot of people couldn't understand that because they think you're just automatically a dick. And they think you're just this egotistical person. And it's the opposite. You're just trying to get shit done. And you don't got time to play because at the end of the day, look, I was just going into a studio by myself, rapping on people's beats and paying, $100 for a custom beat. Now you got 5 people. Now the studio time is tripled because now it takes, $800 to go track a whole band. Now obviously our records cost more than that now, but it's a whole different world. So you can't go in there wasting time and wasting money. Of course, you always want to keep it fun. But this is a business. Right. And some people don't realize that. They think they can just do what they want and not be a part of the investment and not be a part of the hustle and the grind. And they just think that, I play drums. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to just show up and play drums. No, you got to be on social media. You got to be promoting. you got to be, of course, showing up on time to the practice. I mean, this is a hustle and this is a grind on it that I quickly understood. Because now it's not just me. Now I have 4 other guys around me, 4 other guys who think different. And I wasn't always the best at adapting to that, but I always knew that I possessed just some good leadership skills, and I knew I could take something that I started from scratch and turn it into something. That's just something that I have always been able to do throughout my life with businesses and stuff that I've worked hard, through my career. But a lot of people just can't get on board with that sometimes. And it's difficult. The band life is difficult, man. It really is. But once you can find people who you can really just vibe with, it's off to the races,
That's it. And I mean, it's very true where, there is a big difference between blatantly being a dick for no reason, which everybody has a story of a band member who is just, there's a difference between that and, hey, like, not being a dick, but it's like, yo, like, we need to do this. We need to do this way. There is a big difference between.
It's like this. It's like, it's like you take orders from your manager. Well, not orders, but, you listen to your manager when you're out there doing your job. It's like, yo, if there's no leader within the band, because it takes a team to lead a project like a band or multi-people group or whatever. Why do you think a lot of these bands, like, they break up, and boy bands break up? It's just so many egos. There's so many. Everybody thinks differently. Everybody is not the cool collective. Do the right thing, and everybody gets paid equally. No, you're gonna have someone who's like, well, why does she get paid this, or I should be getting paid more? Like, bro, like, no, like, if you can't be on board to where you're being a team player and the vibes, you're bringing good energy, then you can't be part of something, like, it's just never going to work. And it's just hard. It really is. But I feel like I'm in a really good spot throughout these years in developing how to be a leader and how to be a role model. And I think now, at 32 years of age, Reckless High, we're in a good spot. I really feel like I'm in the best spot I've ever been with the project.
Well, that's it, man. And I mean, and here's the reality of the situation too: is 32 years old, you're still young. Like, it's not like like you're an old dog. Like, oh yeah, we're. It's like, no, like, you're still young, and I mean, you've got all this experience. The fucking record is killer. Like, I've been ever since I heard the single "The Brawl," which, I mean, I think that's got to be one of my favorite songs, just because I really dig the message behind that song, and the riffs and everything. But like, you listen to the record, it's no joke. You can hear from talking with you your passion and your drive. Like, it's very inspiring, and it's so, I'm excited. And I'm excited for the new stuff too, even though you guys just dropped the record August 3rd. Like, I know from talking with you, like, man, the new stuff's even gonna be badass too.
Yeah, man. The album, The Brawl, that released on my birthday, on my 32nd birthday. It was a present to myself.
Well, happy belated birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was a birthday present to myself. That record was 2 years in the making. So many ups and downs to make that record. Got screwed over by a producer. I should name drop on his little punk ass, but I'm not, because I carry myself respectfully, and I feel like karma's the son of a bitch, and let the world do its thing. But everything happens for a reason, because we were able to hook up with Robbie Joyner, our new producer, who mixed and mastered that record, took someone else's mess that we originally started working with, and it was a bad situation. All the files were mixed up, and shout out to Robbie Joyner, one of the But dude, I can't. Hats off to Robbie, one of the best producers in the game right now, out of Houston. But shout out to him. He took those files and he did his thing, man. I was blown away with the production. And it was a long journey for that record. And I put a lot of pain, a lot of my life story into that record. And I'm glad that you vibe it and can hear that message through those records, man, because it was a struggle. It was a struggle. And some of those records, I sat down with the original producer we're working with, just me and him. There was no band. Because that's a whole nother story, of the journey of just different members coming and going. And the Brawl. So there was two EPs out before this album with the original members. And shout out to those guys. I ain't got nothing but love for them. But we parted ways. We parted ways after almost 7 years of grinding together. 6.5 years, something like that. We parted ways. And it was a sad situation. These are the guys that I consider my brothers and family, but the visions got different and people started having kids, and you know how it goes, man. Things change for people, and hey, I got nothing but love for them. But for me, I couldn't stop. There was nothing that was going to stop me, and it was the fight. That's why I named it the Brawl, because there were so many times where I wanted to give up, and I didn't know who I was going to come play these records for me, and who was going to play guitar. I didn't have a guitarist. I didn't have a drummer. I didn't have any of this. I started this band from scratch by myself with me and a producer. So I told myself, I'm going to go back to square one, link up with this producer, and I don't need nobody. I don't need nobody because I'm going to build this up how I want it, and then I'll simply just let the people navigate. Let it bring in people. And I started creating that record, and instantly just started getting people who wanted to be part of the team, and ended up forming the second group of guys. And unfortunately, that it didn't work out with those guys, and I ended up back at square one. And at the end of the day, I'm not gonna sit here and paint myself to be this perfect person, because I'm not, and I always wear my heart on my sleeve. But there came a point in my life where I was tired of people's BS, and I just did not want to deal with it. And any slight BS that I sensed, I was done with you, and because it kept me from doing what I wanted to do. I was going on 8 years in the project, and I haven't released an album. Two mediocre EPs, and they're not on there no more. I took them down because the quality from the Brawl to those EPs, it wasn't. There was no comparison. And at the end of the day, this was a rebrand. The Brawl, that's a rebrand for the project. And I just wanted to let my story be told through those records, bro. And it's been just such an awesome experience so far, like hearing people jam it, and it's been doing great, man. I'm just excited for it.
That's awesome, man. It's good to hear throughout it all that the drive was there, the determination is still there, because a lot of people, like, they get in a situation like yours, man, they might be like, yeah, man, like, fuck this, like, I'm just gonna tap out.
It's so discouraging, bro. Like, yeah. You want to tap out because music is expensive. Those records cost anywhere between $1,200 or $15 per record, for those who don't know. So your favorite upcoming musician that you're supporting, who's actually putting money into their records, people need to understand that you got 10 songs on an album, and each song costs $1,200 to mix, master, and track. So yeah, that's a lot of money for independent artists. And a lot of people don't want to put that investment. Dude, I have put everything on the line for my music, and I'm not the best musician. I wish I could sing better. I try my best to improve myself constantly. But I tell myself, I have a unique style to myself, and I'm going to ride that. I'm going to do the best that I can with my vocals, and hopefully people can just see the rawness and the uniqueness that I'm trying to bring to the table. Because it's not for everybody, but at the end of the day, man, you can't let nobody stop you from making your dreams happen. And man, I'm just so glad that album saw the light of day, because it wasn't gonna come out. I was so ready to be done. I was so ready to give up. I was ready to just focus on my career, my business, and take care of my family, and just make my music on the side. But man, when you have that calling, and I believe in God, and I believe in faith, and I just had that in my heart, bro, where I was like, I'm not giving up. This record is coming out. I'm dropping this shit on my birthday. I deserve it. It's been a long journey. This is a present to myself. And I had to pay the producer. Oh, that hurt me when I had to send that Venmo for the final payment of that record. I was like, man, people better love this record, man. They don't understand. They don't understand how much debt this record has put me in. These music videos have put me in, but it's all worth it because it makes me happy, bro. And I got people who message me. It's not 100, it's not 1,000, but you know what? The people that I have messaging me and telling me they love it and how much they listen to it every day, man, it's the best thing to me, especially right now in my life, because I feel like I've done something. Whether I make it to the big stages or I don't make it to the big stages, I know that I've impacted at least a handful of people's lives. And at the end of the day, man, if that's in my calling and that's in my journey, well, so be it. But I never gave up. Never give up, people.
That's it, brother. And that's a beautiful, wonderful message too. And I mean, it's inspiring, honestly. It really is. Like it, having if no matter what happens, you did that. And that's something a lot of people, they don't even get that one person that says, hey, you affected my life, or hey, you helped me out of a dark spot. So that's awesome. And I mean, I'm so happy you've gotten to have that. And I think that's a beautiful place to kind of start to wrap it up here today. I'd love to have you back on sometime to dive into the record for a showcase in its entirety.
Bro, yes, bro, because the story is so long and the story is so, it's just, I love that I was able to get on here because this is the first time that this has ever been said and recorded. So it's just a blessing for me because I truly believe that Reckless High is going to be something greater than what it is. I believe it in my heart. I believe it just from the people and the response that we've gotten over the years. And just to have an outlet like yours to get on here and tell the story. But I just wish we had more time because, man, it gets grimy and it gets good. It gets good. I just had to sum it all up, really quick. But dude, yes, man, we got to do a part 2 because it's just too much.
Yeah, that's a whole, like when you were saying earlier before we started, I was like, brother, that's like a whole, as much as I love doing 2-3 hour long podcasts, that's
I know
some people aren't a fan of that.
I'm looking at the corner right here and it says an hour and 6 minutes. I can't believe we've been talking for that long. Like seriously, man. But you know what? That's what happens when you're just just vibing and wanting to get this message out to people. And at the end of the day, man, I thank you for even allowing me to be on your show and giving me some time because, man, I am desperate to get this message out in the world, to the youth, to people, to anybody who feels like giving up, to anybody who's feeling discouraged or going through addiction and fighting demons internally because, man, that's a whole nother story, man. I fought addiction all my life. I'm over a year and 6 months sober. And just something else I want to touch on real quick. And if anybody who's going through addiction, I just want you to know that you can make it out. There is another way. We don't have to be high. We don't have to live like that, because I'm experiencing that new life. And I love anybody who is trying to get better. And I love people who are at the bottom and are just trying to seek something better for themselves. Because at the end of the day, you're not giving up. You're not giving up. You're trying and you're trying. And I tell people to keep trying, because it's a hard freaking road to overcome. But you know what? We can overcome it. And I love every single buddy who's given me a chance to just tell my story. And yeah, man, just grateful. Just grateful.
Well, and congrats on that, brother. That's a hell of a fight. And I mean, that's really awesome to hear. Over a year. That's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, man. And still rocking shows. We were still fighting sobriety, going to the clubs, rocking shows sober. It feels great. The energy, it's something. I want people to experience it. I want people to experience new life, new light. We've lived in darkness for so long that we get sucked in, and we just don't know how to live. We don't know any other way to live. I was an addict for 15 years. I'm learning how to relive. It's like learning how to walk again. And you don't want to go through that work. You don't want to put in that work, because it's anxiety, it's depression. It's like, it's chaotic. But man, to anybody who listens to this podcast and you make it to the end and you get to hear this, there is a better way. And it's so cliche to say, and it's the most clichéest advice: never give up, don't look back. But you know what, man? It's the most truest, most realest shit that anybody's ever going to tell you. Because the day you clock yourself out because you gave up on yourself and your soul, man, it's going to be the biggest mistake you ever make in your life, because you never gave yourself a shot to really experience life. Straight up.
Fuck yeah, man. Wise words, strong words. I love it. I appreciate you taking the time, man.
No doubt,
sharing
bro.
your story. I could have another 3 hours of a chat with you for sure. But
for real. hey, we can be the new Vlad TV and Boozy.
Hell yeah.
We have multiple segments. Like this ain't no one-time thing.
Part 1 of 6. Let's go.
Straight up. We rocking. Let's go.
Hell yeah, man. Real quick, one more question I have for you. I've wanted to ask you all night. Where did the name Solo come from? Where did the nickname Solo come from?
All right, so the nickname Solo came from, all honesty, my brother, my middle brother. I had like this weird rap name, like I think it was like Twista. No, not Twista, Twisted MC or something like that. And my brother was like, bro, that's not working. He's like, man, check it out. And we're like partying and drinking and stuff, of course, and getting high and stuff. And he's like, man, he's like looking at me. He's like, you know, man, he's like, you've always rocked by yourself. You've always did your own thing, man. And how about Solo, man? I was like, man, I like that. And I'm like 16 years old at the time, maybe 7. No, I was 16. And I'm like, all right, I like that. And then like, I would say like 2 months later, I got Solo tatted on my hands. Solo on my knuckles, you know, because I was like, SOLO. Oh, man, that'll fit perfect. Solo. Been Solo ever since, man.
That's awesome, brother. I have to say how much I appreciated that impersonation, because obviously I do not know your brother, but I'm a huge fan of impersonations, and I can just tell by that he has a very distinctive way of talking. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, he's very like, you know, gangster and hard.
The lip smack. I like the lip smack.
You know, man, you know, bro. Like, you know, I was like, yeah, man, I got you. You know, I dig it. So, you know, and I rocked with it, and yeah, man, it's just been a journey. And you know, I tell people my real name, because everybody, you know, I always tell people when they're like, hey, what's your name? I'm like, you know, everybody just calls me Solo. So there's a lot of people who don't know me, like know my real name, but I always feel weird when I tell people, you know, my real name is Alejandro Carrillo, short Alex for short, or Alexander, whatever you want to call me. But if you just want to call me Solo, that's cool too. So everybody's like, yeah, Alejandro's just too hard.
Your name's too hard to pronounce.
They're like, oh, I get it all the time. I get this all the time. A lot of people are like, "Oh, like the Lady Gaga song?" I'm like, "Yeah, like the Lady Gaga song." I was like, "If you can sing that song, you can say my name." They're like, "Oh yeah, Alejandro." I'm like, "Yeah, you got it." I was like, "You got it, man. You got it. You got it." I was like, they're like, "Man, I never realized how easy that was to say." I'm like, "Yeah, because Lady Gaga told you how to say Alejandro instead of Alejandro, you know?" You got to roll the Mars, man. Baby. You got to roll the Mars.
You got to roll the R's, Rob. That's what it's all about.
You got to roll the Alejandro. But yeah, man, so that's my real name, Alejandro Carrillo. And, just, go by Solo now. And, yeah, man, vocalist of Reckless High, baby. Hope y'all love, go check out that record. Hope y'all love this interview. And hopefully we can touch base again and really dive into some really nitty gritty stuff, bro, because it gets dark in my life, man. But you know what? I'm happy to be where I'm at because I'm blessed and I'm grateful. I got a 2-month-old baby girl who she's crying, so I'm gonna have to hop off here and attend to her. Got her in the background. And I got a 6-year-old son that I love so much, named Ezekiel. My daughter's name is Alexis, and I'm just grateful to be here. And I'm gonna be giving y'all some really good music through Reckless High Project. And this next album that we got coming up is going to be a collaboration album. So we have every song that's going to be on this new album is going to have a feature from rappers to country singers to you name it, man. We've already dived into diversity with the Brawl. We got Christian Machado on there, Avery Jean from Mirror Lake, Jay Pingel. He's a rapper, R&B singer, coming from the hip hop world. I can vibe with all those styles. So this new record, I'm taking it to a next level. People are not even they're going to hear the Brawl and they're going to hear this new album and they're going to be like, there's going to be so much difference in the record and the styles. But this was funny real quick. I sent a couple records to my buddy. I was like, "Man, check out the new direction, bro." He's like, "Oh, you're finally selling out."
You're finally selling out. I like it.
I said, "Call it what you want it, baby. Call it what you want it." But all I know is that I'm having fun making these records. I ain't got to be this metal dude or this metal. Nah, bro. You're gonna hear some love songs and some different type of country southern twang type stuff because I love country music as well. And they're like, "Bro, but we dig it." I'm like, I said, "You can call it selling out. I call it growth." I call it growth, baby, and having fun in this world. You know what I'm saying? And not taking the music so serious. Because I don't know how many times we've been in the studio and we're just arguing. So many times it's like, no, bro. Like, no, that doesn't need to be. No, let's just have fun and create. This next album's called Back to the Basics because so you know how nu metal is rock with the sprinkle of the hip hop. That's what makes nu metal. That's what makes nu metal nu metal. They're incorporating hip hop. So with this new record called Back to the Basics, I'm going back to my rap roots, and instead of the hip hop being the sprinkle on the rock, it's the rock sprinkled on the hip hop rap stuff. So you're gonna hear a lot of hip hop trap beats. Some of the songs do have live drums, but as far as hearing the double kick and your average rock metal drums on this new album, it's not going to be there. So I think that's what's going to throw a lot of people off because they're not going to have that rock vibe, but it's all right. This is something different, guys. It's going to be something different. And I believe in it.
And that's what's important. And it's important to make sure you're happy with what you're releasing and that you're hyped about it and you're excited about it. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing it, especially because I'm a big El Nino fan. So when I saw that Christian was on one of the tracks, I was like, yo, but then also real quick, you mentioned something about how it's a diversity going with the love songs and stuff like that. His solo record, I was shocked when I heard it, but I loved it. So I was like, yo.
Fire. And shout out to Christian Machado, bro. He's such a nice guy. Man, I grew up listening to El Nino too, man. And, to work with him, man, I just reached out to him on Instagram. I said, you know what, man? It's so easy these days. You can reach out to your favorite artist. Either they're going to respond through their Instagram or their management's going to respond. And Christian hit me back up, and he's like, man, as long as the record's good, I'll do it. So I said, okay. I sent it to him, and okay, I'll do it. I was like,
there you go.
Yeah. And he strictly said, he's like, man, if the record's good, I'll do it. But if it's not, I'm sorry. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was like, dude, I'm just grateful to be talking to you right now. And we did the record, and he was only supposed to do a chorus. Just real quick on Redemption, he was supposed to only do a chorus, and I sent him the record, all the Pro Tool session. He sends it back within like 7 days, and he just records a song from start to finish. And I'm like, okay, we just asked for a chorus, but we have like intros and verses and choruses and outros. He just wrote a whole song to our record. So he ends up contacting me. He's like, hey man, I sent over the stuff. He's like, man, I was loving it so much that I just gave you so much material. You can do whatever you want with it. I was like, so you're telling me like we can use instead of a chorus, we can use a verse and a chorus? And he's like, yeah, man, whatever works best. And I'm like, we originally just paid for him to sing a chorus for us. And here we get this whole song. That My Redemption from start to finish was vocals of his. And we sat down for, man, it just seemed a while. And we took those vocals and we cut them and pasted them. And it was the best thing to be able to have that much material from someone that you grew up listening to. I grew up listening to El Nino, man. Age of 17 one of the first times I heard El Nino. So here I am at 31 years of age, and I was 31 at the time when I got that record done. But here I am. And quick spoiler, there's gonna be a video.
Yo,
there's gonna be a video.
Well, what I love was like I'm listening to this, and like you've got a great metal voice as well. Like,
thank you.
But I'm listening to this, and I'm like, okay, I see he's on it, and I'm used to like maybe a chorus or a bridge or something. And he's definitely in the bridge. Like, there's no mistaking that's him because his fucking gutturals are so unique. Like, I love his voice.
Yeah.
Ever since I heard, I think the first El Nino song I ever actually heard was This War. And like the way that starts off, it was us. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, my God. And like, yeah. And like when I'm listening to the song and I'm like, this is sick. Like, but like, first verse, I'm like, I think he's on this too. And the chorus, obviously, you can, but then when it got to the bridge, I was like, holy shit. And then I went back and listened to it like 3 or 4 more times, and I'm like, he's peppered all throughout this song. And I was like, that's fucking sick. Like, there's parts.
Okay, so he's not peppered. So on the chorus, so he's only on that bridge and at the end. So the
is that all you doing that?
Like the whole song?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. Okay,
dude, holy shit. Okay,
so on the chorus though, you hear that lower. Yeah. There's a lower voice. That's my guitarist Damien.
Okay.
Yeah. Damien has bro. Damien. First shout out to Damien. So Damien is pretty much Reckless High is just me and Damien. The other guys that you see in the videos, shout out to them, much love, but they're just fill-ins. They're just bodies that help us out. But a lot of the stuff that you see going on with the records and stuff, me and Damien. Shout out to my boy Damien. Damien had a lot to do with that record, the Brawl, from start to finish on the mixing and editing and just putting his input. I don't think that album could have been as good if it wasn't for Damien's input and his professionalism. I love that guy. And me and him have a good understanding of where we're at with the band. And he's just a good dude. And he's helped me grow and mature as a person and as a man. And you just need those people around you. So shout out to my boy Damien, guitarist. He killed it on the vocals. He shocked me. And we did those vocals. We did Redemption vocals in my house, in the same room. Where I had my studio here at the time. We did the vocals in my closet. With the producer that we were working at the time, he made a house visit because just some BS, whatever. So I was like, well, whatever, just kind of my studio. So we ended up doing that here at my home. And I was shocked when I never heard Damien do any kind of vocal work or anything. And he was just like, man, let me get on it. Let me try something. And I heard him do those lower vocals. And I'm like, dude, like, yeah, bro, like you need to go ahead and do that. So the chorus is me and Damien singing together. And then, yeah, Christian comes in on the bridge and he finishes the song. But yeah, man, shout out to my boy Damien. I love you, doggy. He's traveling right now. Told him I was going to do the interview. Told him to give him a shout out. So yeah, man.
The best compliment I can give is that I thought that was Christian doing it. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, yeah, I thought that was him because it's so like, but I was like, I'm pretty sure that's him doing it, but no, that's okay. That's
I'm awesome. I know it's just me and him on the chorus. And he reminded Damien's, when I first heard him do vocals, man, he reminded me of Brian Head Welch on his, on his solo stuff.
The solo stuff.
Yeah. I was like, dude, like we need to do a lot more of that. So we didn't get to do much of it because the record was pretty much done, and I think like My Redemption was one of the last songs that we did. So just on this new album, we're gonna release singles first. And you know what, man? I'll send you a teaser. I'll give you an exclusive.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I'll send you an exclusive of one of our first records that we did, and you're gonna hear what I'm talking about when you hear this song that I send you. You're gonna be like, I see what he's talking about, because yeah, we're just on. Well, I'm on that vibe. And I'm grateful for Damien and another guitarist who was originally in the band. His name's Ryan Moe. He's another guitarist that comes in and does a lot of guitar work for me. So shout out to Ryan, kills it. But him, Ryan, and Damien just met me at the studio with FM, the rap hip hop producer that I originally started off with, and we created the first single off the new record. So that's going to be coming out here in a couple of weeks, man. And we're just stoked, just stoked to be doing something different. But shout out to my boys, man, Ryan and Damien and Robbie and FM. That's my little team right now. And shout out to the homie Luis. He's been holding it down on the drums. But that's a whole other thing. But anyways, we're just gonna keep on working and keep on vibing, man, and keep creating music. But Solo is the face of Reckless High, and I want people to know that. And before it was a group thing, you know. But I'm happy where I'm at with the project, and I want people to ultimately know who I am and know my story. And anybody who wants to come along and be part of it, you know, they're more than welcome. But they have to understand that it's go time, you know, and it's hard to find people like that. And you know, people can't see, but we got the new merch in the video. Got, you know, new merch that we have on recklesshighmerch.com. You can go and get all the new merch that we're launching. Legit garments, quality garments. And the thing is, we're not trying to make a lot of money off this shit. You know, it's for this shirt front and back, $25. That's with shipping. You know, $25, quality tees. We ain't making much money off this stuff. We just want people to represent us, wear our stuff, wear quality stuff, have good music, and that's it. We're just trying to deliver a great product that people are willing to say, man, I could spend $20 on that. Instead of $50 for an independent band, and you go into their merch thing, it's like $45-$50 for a shirt. Like, bro, I don't even know who you are. Like, I'm not going to spend $40-$50. Now, I won't even do that. I won't even do that for a freaking Slipknot shirt. You kidding me? Like, I'm sorry, but
hard out there. You get what's with this $50 for a t-shirt bullshit?
It's like, bro, I get it. Look at this. Look how big his design is, bro. I mean, $25. You know, and shout out to everybody who's been going to the merch store and supporting. our Instagram is doing really great. We're starting to get a lot of promotion. The algorithm is starting to kick. So I'm like, yes, it's just starting to take off. And shout out to everybody. Love you guys. For sure. Much love from your boy Solo.
That's it, brother. Thank you so much, man. It's been a joy getting to talk with you. We'll definitely have to do this again sometime and talk some more shit. It was a lot of fun. Guys, I'll have some links down below for Reckless High, but go check them out. They deserve your support. Solo, thank you so much for the time, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
All right, folks, there you have it. My chat with Solo from Reckless High. I hope that you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Solo's a great guy with one hell of a story. We literally, as you heard the last 20 minutes or half an hour there, we really only scratched the surface of his story and his journey. And I can assure you, you'll definitely see him on again, probably sooner rather than later, to share more of his incredible story. And I cannot wait to check out what Reckless High is doing next. It's going to be awesome. So keep it locked there. Be sure to check out in the description of this podcast, as I will have some links for Reckless High. Go and get some merch from them. The merch designs are badass. You're going to see me sporting some very, very soon. And I cannot wait. Thanks again to Solo and all the crew over at Reckless High. And thank you so very much for listening. If you're still listening, you are seriously the best. Thank you so much. If you would like to help support this podcast, you can do so by, of course, sharing, leaving a like, commenting, let me know that you enjoyed the show. Leave a rating. Ratings help a lot. Ratings help this show grow. Maybe consider checking out some of the sponsors for the Hotter Show. And you can also consider joining the Hotter Show Patreon. That's right, the Hotter Show Patreon, patreon.com/the Hotter Show. Join my exclusive community, and you're going to get some really fantastic rewards, like access to the Taped with Trepidation, my horror narration podcast I do exclusively for my Patreon. You guys got a little taste of the first 6 episodes of Taped with Trepidation a couple of weeks ago. Since then, I have had 3 episodes, soon to be 4. 10 episodes in total that you'll get access to, and I've got some really good feedback on them. So if you're into that kind of thing, check it out. If you're not into horror or anything like that, rest assured there's still lots of other cool stuff going on, especially if you are a Discord user. I do a lot of live streams and things of that nature. So be sure to keep it locked on the Patreon if you are a member, because I will announce when I'm doing more stuff like that in the coming weeks. And also, join the Discord if you so choose. One thing you get if you join the Hotter Show Patreon is a shout out on every single episode of the Hotter Show, like this. I got to take a second to give a humongous shout out to my Patreon supporters, of course, the Hotheads. We have the OG Hothead, Scott Duquette. Scott, thanks for everything, brother. You know how much I love you. We have Ronan Komori, also known as Mo, over on the Hotter Show Discord. Ronan, thank you, brother, for everything. I appreciate you so much. Wolf Delta Pi, also known as Tanner Wood. Thanks for all the support, brother, and all your hard work on last week's episode. I appreciate the hell out of you. Eric Phones, who you actually got to hear on the 5th episode of Taped with Trepidation as the leading role on that episode. Eric, thanks for all the support, brother. I seriously appreciate you so very much. My boy Arthur Unk. Arthur, I love you, buddy. Thanks so much for everything. Mike Quintero of Mike's Mystery Mansion. What else can I say? Fantastic Horror Nation podcast. Go check out Mike's Mystery Mansion. It is awesome. CM Peters of Baseline Feed, also an author. Go check out her new book. It is absolutely fantastic. CM, thank you so much for everything and all your hard work on last week's episode as well with the music. Jason Reese of J Bridges Larch. Jason, you guys have heard me talk about Jason tons. J Bridges Larch does all my stuff, all my merch and my graphics, all that stuff. Go check Jason out. He deserves your support, brother. You know how much I love you. Thank you so much for everything. We have, of course, Kelly Sizin, who is one of my my newest patrons, along with CM and Jason. Kelly, thank you so very much for all of the support. We have Terry and Janet Hodder. Huh. Interesting. Same last name as me. Are we related? Huh. Probably. Anyway, moving on. Brandon Bowden. I love you, buddy. Thank you so much for everything that you have done for me in this journey and now still continue to do for me. being a hothead. And Neil Skorupa, thank you so very much for all the support, brother. I'm pretty sure I couldn't pronounce your last name correctly again. If not, let me know. I appreciate you. I have 12 patrons. Like, how freaking cool is that? I'm beyond ecstatic for it. And if you would consider joining the Hotter Show Patreon, even at $1 a month, you'll get a shout out and exclusive access to things like my private Discord server, as well as live streams and things of that nature. One of which I'm going to be jumping on here actually in just a minute as I am getting ready to wrap this up. So if you're listening to this right now, you may have already been a part of that live stream, as I'm going to be doing some editing and drinking some alcoholic beverages, as I tend to do on occasion on the Hotter Show Discord, and for my patrons on the live stream. We have fun. So come join the Hotter Show community. If not, a like and a share goes a long way. Thank you very much for all the support. You know I love you, and I will catch you next time on the Hotter Show. Take it easy, guys.